a link that I can send out so I can tell people where I'm doing this thing?
They can go right to our YouTube page, which is just The Trail Chasers on YouTube. And let me make sure that's going live right now. Okay, it looks like we are live. We'll give the normal suspects in the chat room the chance to. Oh shit! I'm gonna stop streaming. Of randomness. So but yeah, that we do the live stream on Tuesday nights, and then I will edit this Wednesday, and we will release the audio only podcast on Thursday morning.
Sounds great.
Horse Trainer, what's up? Betty White is in there. You got 13 minutes left on your break. 13 minutes left on your break. Tell them you need to go do something. Tell them you're in the bathroom. What's up, Perry G?
What's a break?
Yeah, what's a break? Exactly. I've been working crazy hours in the last couple.
Call that March. April.
Yeah, for you it's very seasonal. Very, very seasonal. Do a quick live story.
I just did a post as well.
Hey, we are live on Tuesday night at 6:30 on YouTube, and tonight we are joined by Dave Cole. You can't see him on the big TV, but Dave Cole and Casey and I are on YouTube. Matt and Jose are losers; they're not here tonight. So come check out our YouTube channel while we interview Dave. Bye.
Jose's got something called work.
Yeah,
he's got to do, and then Matt is late from that other thing called work.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. All right, it looks like we are recording. Make sure that's happening. Yep, and it looks like we've got live feed because we've got people in the chat already, and I think we are ready to go. Dave, you ready?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
All right, Casey, you good?
Yes, sir.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it is 6:30 on Tuesday night. We are live on YouTube as we usually are on Tuesday nights. We started on time tonight, probably because Matt and Jose aren't here. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but since Matt and Jose aren't here, everything's working. All the computers are working. No one's trying to log in and try to figure it out. So I'm going to blame all of our lateness on Matt and Jose whenever they're not here.
It's the Old School Rock Crawlers podcast.
It's the old school. And just as a side note, we just found out that there is a pair of Sisson brothers that are cool. It's not us. It's
he never said cool.
He just said old school rock crawler Sisson brothers. And I think the only reason Dave agreed to come on this show is because he thought we were them, and he met them.
False advertising, I said.
So we are joined tonight by Dave Cole. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourselves?
Good, really good.
This
is a long time coming, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on a show with a couple yuckleheads like us. But we have been big fans of the stuff that you've done. Specifically over the last 20 years. And I do want to get to a lot of that, but I want to, so where are you at right now?
I'm physically in New Jersey. I got married in April.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Thank you. Yep. I'm at our house in New Jersey. I grew up back here. I went to high school back here and came to California in 99. And when I did, my girlfriend at the time, my high school girlfriend, we just stopped talking, and we didn't talk again until about a year and a half ago. And
oh no,
life changing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh yeah. Wow, that is crazy. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about with you is the story from 2007 on has probably been told a bunch of times. I want to talk about talk about Dave pre 2007. So you grew up in New Jersey. What was off-roading something you did in Jersey? Was that part of your life growing up?
I actually, I don't know why I got into off road except for the Ivan Stewart game.
Oh
Like
yes.
I was just into the Ivan Stewart game, and I completely destroyed my mom's Ford Escort in the Pine Barrens, New Jersey. I learned how to do emergency brake, J hook turns. I started in the dirt and then graduated to asphalt at speed. It was better in the dirt,
Oh
safer.
yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
uh, yeah, but Jersey,
so Ivan Stewart video games in Jersey, and that was like the beginnings of
yeah,
eh,
like when you're putting quarters in for pole position, that
yeah.
kind of thing at
Oh
Seven
yeah.
Eleven. Yeah,
You
yeah,
you and I are close in age. You're a couple years older, like 2 years older than me, I think. But I 100% remember the stand-up Ivan Stewart video game at Lamppost Pizza after my dad's softball games. We
there you
would
go.
go play at Lamppost Pizza, and I absolutely remember that. What about out? Like I'm not familiar with Jersey. When I think Jersey, I think subways and
No, there's no
yes,
subways
yeah, or
at all. I
the
don't think there's
rail. It's
any subways in Jersey at all,
is it the
literally.
rail? Isn't there like
There's a rail, there's a high speed line and Patco thing down by Philly. I'm down by Philly. I
okay?
don't consider what you're considering Jersey's up by New York, and
Yes.
honestly, no, no.
I totally didn't mean to offend you.
I'm much more South Jersey.
Okay, so
Okay.
what is the landscape there? Is there any like is there outdoor adventures?
It's mostly it's concrete up north and asphalt south.
Okay,
No, no, I'm kidding. It's green. It's really green down here. There's
is it
nothing. It's hugely. It's much more. A lot of cell phone trees. I mean
okay?
towers.
All right.
So
So outdoor stuff like was that much of a thing growing up from before
I played
'99?
organized sport. I mean, I played college football, so I did. For me, it was all organized sports growing up.
Yeah.
And then I was drawn. My for a short time, I lived in Indiana when I was like in third grade. My dad was in the steel industry and in the military. Between the two of those, and parents getting divorced and life happening, I kind of lived all over the East Coast. And but for like 3 years and probably like 7 or 8 years, we went to the Indy 500. And
Oh.
my dad was one of the gold hat guys, like the security guys at the Indy, they have
Mhm.
like their volunteer guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I got to go in with him before the race started for about 4 or 5 years, like 6 a.m. before doors open kind of thing, which was kind of a cool
Yeah.
experience. And I think that's where I got completely hooked on the concept of events and understanding how it worked. And I just got really into it. And then racing, of course. I mean, I was hugely into racing at that point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, I can't imagine having access to the indie world and not being just completely absorbed by it. Like
Yeah.
that's the pinnacle of motorsports racing.
In the 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
yeah,
And then,
absolutely.
you know,
I tried watching that. There's that Netflix Formula One race thing, and I've only watched like 3 episodes, but I heard really good
Drive
things
to
about it.
Survive.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah,
That's uh that's changing the consumption of motorsports in general and yeah, so stuff and the whole drama piece and trying to get more of the lifestyle and the culture.
Mhm.
Understanding the people that are in the sport as opposed to the sport itself, that goes a long way to getting people hooked.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and I think for spectators of any race event, you see what happens on race day, but the 48 hours, 48 weeks, 48 months leading up to that, you don't see the failures and the missteps
Yeah.
and the successes and the all of that stuff. And I think
Yep.
understanding all of that all of that story before race day, before the flag drops, makes you that much more connected to the driver when the light goes green or they take off from the start line.
Agreed. Yeah, I think one of the huge opportunities we would have on the same line is kind of telling that story of how the groups of friends and families come together to come to King of the Hammers. I think that would be that would change when you realize it's not Jason Shear, it's 45 people in
Yeah.
Jason Shear racing.
Right.
Yes.
Then it's
Yes.
then it's a different feeling.
And
I
the other
think I think that there's like a lot of us that are perfectly happy watching really cool cars go around in a circle or on whatever sort of track, right? We don't necessarily need a story. I just want to watch some cool racing. But then
Mhm.
there's like, if you can add a story to it, you might get some people to come watch the racing because they've
Yeah.
connected to
Mhm.
the story.
Mhm.
Yep.
You
and
know?
and I think going back to Shearer and his 45 people, there's also 100 race teams that have 20 people that are all volunteers working for beers and camaraderie and friendship. And like we've interviewed a handful of people that did the team. Camacho is the first one that comes to mind, Camacho Racing, and those guys, the struggles they went through to get when we talked to them, it was like, I don't know, like 4 weeks before race day, and they were like, well, we still don't have an engine in the car, and
They said we're 30% done.
30%
30% done. Yep, that makes sense.
So I do think that those stories behind the racers is super compelling, regardless of the format in which the event we're talking about. I think there's so much more. There's so much technology and passion and drive that goes into these race teams in any form of the sport. So
hence the success of forums like this. I mean, you guys talking like this, there's not going to be a single car going vroom vroom past us, but it's entertaining and it's insightful, and people love to hear the stuff that comes out. So yeah,
yeah, I'm looking for. I want to jump into Hammerking and streaming and some of the things going forward. But before we get to that, let's talk about Summit Business Solutions 02 to 07. so if I am known.
Check it out by LinkedIn or something.
I am known to be a LinkedIn stalker, Dave. I am known to be a LinkedIn stalker, and there's
now we've both logged into LinkedIn one time.
So there's
Summit Business Solutions. That was how Summit Business. So when I moved to California, I worked for GE Capital, which is where I started. I never graduated college. I played college football, went to school for 2 years, and got a job at GE in the summer. Actually, my first job, I was the file boy for the first mortgage-backed security.
Really?
Cannot make that up. Yep. I was playing college football as a Kelly Temp, and I put like 5,000 origination files in order, and it was for the first mortgage-backed security for GE Capital. And I ended up getting a job there right after that. And I ended up staying with them through St. Louis and then to California. And then I ended up going to GM in 2001. And I was in Mexico City for 2 years with GM. And then I was missing being home. I was already, it was tough at that point. So I came home and stayed home. I tried to start my own business, and I wasn't very good at it. And hence King of the Hammers in 2000. You see, Summit Business Solutions.
So hold on.
2002 to 2007 are the hungry years. We call them the hungry years.
5 years of your own business is Summit Business Solutions. I mean, 5 years is pretty good to feed yourself. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then business analyst for Ceridian from 07 to 10. Now, Ceridian is my experience with Ceridian is like an HR time clock payroll management company. Yeah. Yep. It's very big in the industry. And what does a business analyst for Ceridian do?
I was pretty good at fixing broken business problems, like go into a department that's losing stuff or has a problem, and I could figure out the data or figure out problems and help kind of make new solutions. For GM, so Ceridian was after GM. Yeah. So yeah, Ceridian was payroll stuff, just what Six Sigma is?
Yep.
I was a Six Sigma Master Black Belt. Try that one on.
I project
management. That has nothing to do with any kind of physical prowess. So all the jokes that are already starting, none.
Yeah.
Zero.
Many years as a project manager and understanding that kind of stuff. So then
my business analyst role then.
What's that?
And you know exactly what I did.
Yes. Well, and so the reason I ask is, and like I said at the opening, is that we'll get into the KOH story. I mean, it's legend, right? It's something that we all think about and talk about on a regular basis. But I find it really, really interesting when you look at your history in working for a mortgage company that as a file boy, and then starting a consulting business, and then go into a HR payroll software company as an analyst. And then in 2008, you and your buddies go do some random ass trip to Johnson Valley that sparks something in you. The point I'm making is if you look at Dave Cole from college to 2007, there's nothing that screams a guy that's going to create an empire that will impact the world of motorsports over the entire globe for the next 2 decades. And I find it super interesting that a lot of personal, like I'm 49, right? And there's a
Right.
lot of people that are sitting there thinking to themselves, oh man, I'm 40 years old, I'm still working at this job, I don't know what's going on. You never know what's around the corner. and
No,
Hmm.
and you were, how old were you in '08 when you guys did that first, '07 when you did that first?
30, 37.
37, right?
Yeah, I'm 52 right now. Yep.
So I find that part interesting, where now learning about some of your background and understanding, I could see where the skill sets that you've developed in your professional world translate to problem solving and project management in the Hammer King and the KOH and that kind of thing. But it doesn't. I don't think people give enough credit to the ability to start something without having a background in starting something. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I don't think I ever realized I was starting something I didn't have any background in doing until it was too late.
yeah, well, because that's the next part I want to talk about, because I feel like this is first of all, when this started, when King of the Hammer started, and ultimately Ultra 4, it didn't exist. It was from whole cloth on a napkin in a bar, and you're flying the plane as you're trying to build it, and I can't even imagine the level of chaos of things getting out in front of the plan, and then creating a plan, and then things getting out in front of the plan, and managing that level of a chaos, catastrophe on a day-to-day basis. I mean, is that an accurate representation of the first few years of King of the Hammers?
It's an accurate representation of the last 4 hours of King of the Hammer. It hasn't changed terribly much. I mean, that
Yeah.
has. Oh no, I mean, yeah, it was pretty nuts. I don't. It, it never seemed it it never seemed like a big deal until probably about 3 or 4 years in with the whole Marine base stuff
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Pirate going nuts and the numbers being crazy, and then quite honestly, it was just a big like water slide for 16 years of just like going nonstop and
Yeah.
figuring, like you said, figuring things out, making it up, trying to do the best we could do. Um, yeah,
Going back to that '07 '08 time frame. So the first group, my understanding, on my LinkedIn stalking and Wikipedia pages. So '07, the first group goes out there, and then '08 you start Hammer King Productions. What was your, so when you started Hammer King, what was your initial thought about what it would be?
so Jeff Noel and I came up with the name Hammer King Productions. It was after having the King of the Hammer is the name. Actually, I'll give John Reynolds probably the biggest credit for that. John Reynolds is the one that crowned himself the King of the Hammers after he won,
Oh,
which was
okay,
rad,
Mhm.
okay.
which was true. And we went with it. Sorry, I'm plugging my
Oh,
laptop
you're
in. I was
you're
going to
good.
lose
You're good.
laptop. Hammer King. So one of the things that Jeff and I talked about from the very beginning is that content was going to be the key to anything. If we're going to do it, it had to be about content. And so let's fake it until we make it. Let's pretend we know what we're doing with content, because they'll think we know what we're doing with racing. So we made up a productions company. We called it a productions company, even though the closest thing to holding a camera was saying the word productions for me. And still, I don't hold a
Hey,
camera.
we have been faking this since 2016,
Yeah.
so I know
Right.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
But I think that's, again, interesting when you think about 2007, 2008. When you say content, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, I don't even know if YouTube was a thing in 2007.
YouTube and Facebook were not existent at
Yeah,
that point too.
No,
so
that was the first first
iPhone,
iPhone came
yeah,
out in 2007.
yeah. So
Right? Am I mistaken?
The real thing that is another 3 hours of a conversation. It's also when the Razor came out,
really,
2000.
Oh, okay.
Try that
really,
one on.
Okay. Wow, that was a
wow.
long time ago.
Try that one on, and tell me in 30 years anybody can tell the difference between a UTV and an Ultra 4
Yeah.
car.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to
Right.
talk about that. But what was when you said content? And it was like, I know when you say content today, I think all of us can list the 48 places we can consume content. But when you said content in '08, what kind of content were you thinking?
Literally, like, did you guys even know who RP Films was?
No.
Rat
Doesn't
Pat.
ring a bell.
Rat Pat.
No.
I don't even. I think that's what the R and the P stand for. Pat was his name. Pat's rad. He came to rock crawling events and shot us. And if you like Tracy Jordan and Becca Webster and Dustin Webster and all them, we're just making like old school rock crawling videos.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was. I'm thinking like skate videos, like Animal Chin and Powell Peralta. Like it's you know
so,
you buy the VHS so you can watch it with your buddies.
So for us, content really was Pirate 4x4.
Okay.
It was just video clips, content, anything, pictures, rumors, anything at all that made it to Pirate it was it. And really, actually, the fun. I was just thinking about this the other day. Probably the turning point or the thing that changed us as a company was around 2009. I think so. 2007 was the OG race. 2008 was the first big race. 2000, and we shot a movie then. Tay Lee shot the movie, and we worked with Pirate to make a live show, Lance and Camo. Mm-hmm. And the next year, 2009, they came out and they made a live show again, and it was Lance sitting on the start line with a laptop, and I think Camo was at back door, and we tried. I mean, it was pretty rad. I think we did 2 years that way, and I think the second year is when I came home from doing the Griffin King of the Hammers in the desert to find out that Jason Shear had won the B.F. Goodrich King of the Hammers on Pirate.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So I went to Georgetown and I bought their trailer. I bought their van and their cameras and their dish, so they couldn't get my live show anymore.
Oh no! You would think they'd get some of that stuff cleared with you before.
Well, no, but that was so Wild West.
Yeah.
Pirate was super Wild West.
Yes.
And
want to be the first one to post anything out there.
Yeah.
If you're Camo and Lance, you're righteous. They're the ones that are putting the expense in. I mean, going and getting a dish back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was expensive. They were spending 30 or 40 grand then to make a live show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because for those of you that aren't that are we've talked about this a billion times, so I can't imagine you don't know. But for those of you that don't, Johnson Valley is in the middle of freaking nowhere. It's there, especially back then. There was no cell phone reception or Starlink to get.
We were still there, but we still can't figure out why it works.
So that was so you guys were trying to do live feeds in 2009.
We were doing live feeds in 2008. We were doing live feeds in 2008.
But I mean,
literally, so holding the laptop, you took the camera. Remember the clip-on cameras before laptops had cameras?
Yeah.
Turn that around. So now you're running a meeting from your laptop.
Yeah.
We could walk. We had like a 100-foot Cat5 cable that we attached to the 3-meter dish in the van, and as far as you could walk with the laptop was your camera. Wow. And you basically walk't around doing a web meeting from your laptop.
That sounds like us every week. Like that's how low.
There wasn't any places like we do now. Like there wasn't live viewer. None of that stuff existed at all.
Yeah.
So you were sending video to a frame that we were embedding the frame on Pirate, and that's how we did a live show.
Yeah.
And one of the first things we decided was that the most important thing was to get people to see it. So we made it seem like we were giving them as value, but the reality is we had our sponsors play the live show on their webpage, and that's what blew us up. Then we started getting non-endemic, like people that weren't just our friends, or like people were in South Carolina or watching on Griffins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when it started getting weird.
And by weird, you mean blowing up.
Well,
by weird, by awesome. Yeah, it started getting pretty cool.
Well, awesome, and it had to be awesome and somewhat overwhelming when you. I mean, again, I'm going to say today's world. Someone says, "I want to do a live stream." There's 45 billion companies that will create a live stream for you, and all the equipment exists to do that. You do that in 2008, 2009, and it actually catches on fire and blows up. Yep. That's the moment where you go, "What the hell did I just do?" And how do I keep up with it? Right?
And I really at that time there was so much incredible energy happen from the guys that were racing, guys and girls that were racing, that it was easy to keep up with because everybody was all in. Mm-hmm. I think they still are. I don't think that's really changed a lot. I think there's some trials and tribulations and stuff, but the reality is there's so much passion from the people that do this whether you're on the course or off the course, it puts you in a good place to succeed regardless, because you're throwing everything at it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about that a bunch, about the off-road community as a whole bonding together to help each other and all those things. And then you watch any of the videos about King of the Hammers or hear the stories. We've had racers on to talk about the event and all that. And you hear about the guy that broke down, but this pit is closer, and so they're going to borrow their water pump from this guy and get the truck back up and running. And like it's one of those things where yes, you want to win, that everybody's competing to win, but at the same time, you want everybody competing to finish and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the coolest things about this race that I've ever.
I think looking back on that now, I know that was a really big thing, and I can't put it all in one person, but I remember even in the rock crawling days before that, but Shannon Campbell the big names were the guys that set that standard, because they would be the first one. No one came to a race with spares except for Shannon back then, right? Like, no, we didn't have spares. You had the only motor you could afford was in your car.
Yes.
And the only transmission you could afford was in your car. And the only shocks you could afford were on your car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Shannon was the first successful, like, where A, he was building cars, and B, he had some support, and he was also the first one to really just say, this fuck it, this is my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting everything I have in my entire life at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is my life. This is my kids'
my
life.
family's life. Exactly.
But even though it was his life, and even though it was his entirely livelihood and everything else, when he was at the course, and he did a lot of ass whooping, but he wanted to whoop your ass on the course.
Yeah.
And if he had a part that got you back on the course so he could get you to break his part because he was driving too fast anyway, and you couldn't keep up with him, then he'd be happy to do it that way.
Yeah.
And it was just it set the stage. And if the stud in your sport is acting like that, then everybody acts like that.
Yeah, and
it's pretty cool.
And I very much think it's an extension of the community before the race started. You go to any off-road trail that we've ever been at, and you see a vehicle on the side of the road, your whole group pulls over. Hey man, you guys okay? Do you need anything? You know?
Yep.
And that is part of what I love about our off-road community. And I love that when it goes to the pinnacle level of competition in this race, that piece went with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm very thankful as well.
Yeah, I love that part of it. Talking about the cars back then, I want to talk a little bit about that piece of it, because my understanding, you go back to 2007, it's basically the rock crawler buggies that you guys had built to be able to go hit the hammers and enjoy Johnson Valley. And when you look at those vehicles from 08 compared to the $500,000 machines that are out there now, like, tell me about that progression from your perspective, not only from a fan of the sport, but of how you regulate and manage that process as these vehicles are getting faster and stronger and bigger and more capable.
Well, that's a way bigger. So when you started talking about the first cars, I was thinking about, so I'm extraordinarily fortunate that I was able to buy from Damon Hopper. I bought the JR's car, the Bronco. And so I've just sat there and just looked at it, like, and you see stuff like, I don't know, you guys ever get around like really like high end race, like the desert cars or that kind of stuff, like a truck of trucks that a team that's been racing for 10, 15 years. And you look at it and go, oh, that's why they do that.
Yeah.
That's right there for this exact reason. And this is the reason why that's on the car.
Yeah.
You look at JR's car was the first one because it was built by pros. I mean, Bender built that car. JR put all the love into it, but they built that car with a bunch of creature comforts that we look to in race cars now. It was a pretty cool car. I think what happened for like after like that first 5 or 6 years, we were just building cars that were just like brick shit houses for a while, right? Like, I mean, every car out there that was like 6,500 pounds and just massive. Every car had 3 alternators on it, because every car doesn't need 4 alternators, right?
Right.
And so everything was like super overbuilt, and then people started building fast cars, and it went even as hard as to try to make the event be an endurance race. The winners, the people that are trying to win it, are going after it as a sprint, so they're building super light, fast race cars. It's pretty crazy.
Side note, we actually got to ride in Tom Ways' car on a short course track back in
At Jeremy
2019
McGrath's short course
at
track.
at Jeremy McGrath's short course track. In what, 2019 was it?
Yes,
18?
yes, 19.
18 or 19, yeah. And then we were just he
That
had it
was
just parked there, and we
the
were like,
little one.
"Oh my
That was the Jason Shear car then, right?
I don't know.
god." No, I don't
Was
believe so.
was the passenger seat very small? Were you
It
sitting like
it
were you
fit.
sitting like in a
No, it fit
cute?
Matt, so it couldn't have been that small.
No, it seemed like it was the same size. It seemed like it was the same size seat he was sitting in.
Yeah,
Huh, okay.
yeah. But it was. And Casey and I have had multiple conversations about this. It was it was it made me giggle in a way that I didn't know I could giggle. Like I didn't like
Yeah, it did.
I drive a 2019 Ford Ranger and I drive that thing like I think I'm a race car driver and I get excited and all giggly. And then you get into one of those cars and you realize that that car could rip your intestines out if it wanted to.
I was going to say it rearranges your organs on
Yes.
command.
and you just there's something inside of you that bubbles up and you start giggling like a little girl and you're like kind of embarrassed about it, but at the same time, it's the coolest thing ever.
And yeah, it's also very. It's like, it's to me, it was like that was giggly. It was also calming,
Yes.
right? And then it was also frustrating because that's not how my truck drives. And
Yes.
then
You're telling me, just so I'm going to call bullshit on both your stories, because you guys have been both talking about riding with Tom Ways for 10 minutes, and neither one of you claim to be terrified. And I've ridden with Tom Ways, and he's terrifying.
Well,
oh no, I was
so-
just about to say it feels like he's in complete control, but at the same time, you're thinking there's no way that we're in control of this vehicle.
and I would say it was a short course. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for him to really get to full speed and launch. You know, it was a lot of jump, brake, turn, jump, brake. I believe in the desert where we would be going flat out and I'd be in the desert knowing that there's 2-foot whoops and holes in the ground, I would probably shit my pants. But in that
let me put
course,
this sniper on real quick.
in that short course, I don't think there was enough to scare me. It was just super freaking cool. Like that at the end of the day, one of our best memories of doing this show.
Awesome.
But as the technology has continued to evolve in these vehicles, and you're seeing more wheel travel, more horsepower, more speed on the flats. As the event coordinator and mapping this stuff out, how much of that do you take into consideration and go, well, we need to make some adjustments because this section is just too easy now?
It's funny to talk about that. We just had that conversation about the difficulty of making courses. It's hard. It's really hard. It's hard, and there's a lot of facets that go into it. There's safety. I mean, Tennessee. Did you ever see us race in Tennessee?
No.
Okay.
Not in person, but I've watched always online.
Okay, so you remember we used to dig a trench halfway down the pit road at that race, because you would come out of a hill, you're coming downhill like on a 5-degree slope. It's usually wet, it's grass, it's usually like ice. It's downhill. At the end of downhill, 40 lanes wide, it goes into 2-lane wides with 2 oak trees, and it's really dusty there. So like it's like every chance of like hurting somebody, right? So you got to figure out, how am I going to get a car? Like Casey Gilbert's going to come out of these trees. Eric Miller's going to come out of the trees, and he can be doing 115 before he gets those oak trees.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stop. Yeah. And so stuff like that, just trying to understand how you can try to rein the cars in. The thing nobody still believes to this day, that's what Tire Balls was about for me. I could not build courses. I will never forget Jason Shear passing a dude while driving all 4 tires on the catch fence in Tooele. Mm-hmm. Of the short course, he got wedged up into the wall, and instead of lifting, he was all 4 tires on the catch fence above the concrete wall and just staying in it and going around and made the pass.
Well, I saw there was that year, and I don't remember what year it was, and I don't remember if it was Chocolate Thunder or Backdoor or whatever, but I'm standing there watching, and all of the cars are all backed up. It's carnage. And you hear
Tony Pellegrino, bottom of Chocolate Thunder, 2012. Yes.
Is that that
rock is back right now after the hurricane? That rock is back.
I'm thinking of Shannon Campbell coming around the corner and going up on the side, like literally sideways. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm not going to deal with you guys. I'm just going to go around." and
Yep.
nobody thought to try it. And he came around with enough speed, got up on the side, and just went up and over everybody. And people lost their freaking minds because it was like the
Changed
coolest
everything.
thing. Yes, it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen in any form of motorsports, because you're just watching it and you're like, man, this is he's coming. It's just going to back him up and he's got a chance. Nope. He just didn't give a shit. And he went balls out. And I've never seen a more balls out move in my life.
Yep. Shannon Campbell in his prime.
Yeah.
Like,
And to me, that's
he in Missouri. I remember he lost the rear end of the car. He had like a 3-lap lead in a 7-lap race. Okay. and he lost the rear end of the car, and he had to get up a hill that was pretty difficult for most people to get up, period. But he didn't have a rear end, so he couldn't get up it in going forward. So he turned around and he did the Tom Ways and just on the rev limiter, rock bouncing backwards in reverse in an IFS car in like 2011 in Southern Missouri off-road race. S'more. It's just the stuff we saw.
That brings up a question now that you mentioned he has an IFS car. In your opinion, which style car has the advantage at KOH, IFS or solid axle?
I don't think a car has an advantage at King of the Hammers. I honestly don't. I do my best to make the course hard enough, but the reality of it is, if you build an IFS car and you can drive it, the advantage for an IFS car is not how fast it is in the desert. It's how less taxing it is on your body and the rocks.
The articulation and I think years ago, the argument could have easily been made that solid axle has the advantage because the IFS technology hadn't gotten to a point where it was robust enough to handle that. And everybody that tried it was breaking it. But people like Shannon Campbell that were pushing the envelope on that, the IFS has evolved to a point where, if to your point, Dave, if you build it correctly and you know how to drive it, I don't know that it's at any disadvantage.
Well, it's not a disadvantage. It's certainly not a disadvantage to have an IFS car. But it's also, but the things that people think are inherently weak on it, the things that are rough on a solid axle car can be mitigated as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm positive that no one drives in the rock faster than Eric Miller. I can see that on data. I don't need anything but data. I mean, the data shows that, but when you watch him, I don't think that. I think if he was driving an IFS car, he probably is even faster in the rocks, right? Because he's an animal. He sees the rocks out ahead. He's running his line 200 feet ahead of where he's actually at, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're at that level of, you're clicking like that.
Doesn't matter what car you got.
I haven't seen it. I haven't come to think of it. I don't know that I haven't seen everything. That's for certain. But Eric, I think, is one of the best rock crawlers, and I don't think it's because of his car. I just think he's a surgeon in the rocks. He's good at it.
Yeah, well, it's just like like a race car, a rock crawler, a plane. Like the equipment is part of the equation, yes, but the driver is equally a part of that equation. And you take this driver and put him in someone else's car, you may not end up with the same result. And it's about hey, this is this is the way I like to drive. If you're like, I'm a throttle down, bounce over everything that gets in front of me, then you build the truck in a specific way. If you're like, I'm going to be more nimble and strategic about my route, you build the car a different way. And I think that's with the Ultra 4 platform and the ability to really limitlessly build a vehicle to compete in this race. That's why we're seeing some of this technology evolve, and we're seeing the vehicles get faster and stronger because people are going, I don't have to adhere to X. I want to do this. Let's see. Go back to Shannon's moon buggy. The first thing that time rolls out, and everybody's like, what the hell is that thing? And now you're like, hey, this stink bug vehicle goes really fast. Let's see what happens with it. I mean, but that doesn't, I don't think off-road technology, I'm going to make a bold statement here. I don't think off-road technology evolves the way it does or at the pace it has in the last 20 years without King of the Hammers.
I would agree.
I don't think tires. I don't think suspension. I honestly believe that the ability to test vehicles in the most harsh conditions in the world has forced manufacturers to, if they want to be part of it, if they want their name on the side of a vehicle, if they want to be sponsors, it's forced manufacturers to step up their game in a way they didn't have to prior to this event.
I can tell you with absolute certain fact because I've talked to their engineers. Yeah, I mean, I know for certain because I've talked to engineers. Ford and Can-Am build their cars to win our race.
Mhm.
They hold. We are their Le Mans. We are
Yeah.
their Daytona. We are their Indy. This is it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ford's got their own Le Mans because they got Le Mans. But
Yeah, right.
off road, I mean,
The actual Le Mans.
Yeah.
they built when they built the Bronco for the public.
Yes.
They were building the Bronco for the racers at the same time, and those two teams conversed. They talked.
Yeah.
They built the best vehicle they could.
Yeah.
And watching that technology, watching that happen, that's of all the things anybody's ever asked me. Now that I've actually said it out loud, watching a company like Ford build a car, saying we're only doing this because you did that.
Yeah.
It's like
You started it.
well. No, I mean, because think about and I don't know anything about anything. I'm not a smart man. But when I think back to off-roading, when I started off-roading like in 92, when I got my first Jeep, 92, 93, it was Rancho shocks, right? And all the shocks were the same shocks. It was whatever boot you wanted to get, right? There was
You run yours upside down or right side up though.
Well, they were RS 9000s.
They were RS 9000s with that shitty ass. With that shitty ass of hose system that leaked constantly. Bullshit RS 9000s. But I thought it was cool because I had the RS 9000 sticker all over that Jeep to make sure you knew.
Did you have red boots or pink boots?
Oh, red, 100% red.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But like I just feel like yes, there's been, especially over the last decade with a surge of interest in overlanding and the off-road market, and manufacturers are playing to that because that's who's buying vehicles, and somehow every overlander has a credit score of 9,000 and they're able to spend $4 billion a month on vehicles.
In the middle of a pandemic.
In the middle of a pandemic when they're not working. But
they're saying you can buy a Sprinter van for $9 now.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Wait a minute. Where? I'll sign up right now.
Yeah. I could use a place to sleep.
But other than like the We Rock or the whatever the Baja 5000 Baja 500 Baja 1000, like there wasn't something that was so far out in left field that it forced anybody to do anything different. Just, produce the RS 9000s with a little bit more stroke, and guess what? You're going to win the Baja 500. And then this comes along and you say, hey, you see that rock over there that's bigger than your truck? You have to somehow figure out to get over that and then go another 150 miles at 90 miles an hour. And that had to be a wake-up call for a lot of these manufacturers. And the manufacturers that weren't involved, you had people like Shannon Campbell and the Millers and people fabbing stuff in their own garage because they're like, screw it, I'm not waiting for you, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Sway bar disconnects. Gary Faravani built the sway bar disconnect on a race car.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if you guys were in it when Gary was racing, but that dude brought so much technology. You want to talk about a solid axle guy. That guy never got beat on a short course.
Really?
In his solid axle car.
No kidding.
He lost in his IFS car, but when he was in a solid axle car, which was a Jimmy's car.
Oh, no way. So,
Jimmy's solid axle car with really wide axles and only half the number of springs because you take out the top spring and run the car squashed. It would even be on limit straps. He'd run a car with like 700 horsepower with no up travel. It'd be tied on the limit straps, and he would go out and whoop the living shit out of everyone.
And
everyone.
That goes back to this is the way he drives. Don't put him in something else. Let him drive what he wants to drive.
He was a World of Outlaws guy. So I mean, he was no suspension, sliding sideways, dirt track guy, right? And so he ran that into his ultra sport car. He literally just like squashed the suspension down, ratcheted it down, and put 37s on it and peeled out. It's nuts.
That is nuts. That is nuts. So
That's got to be rough with no up travel like that. Just sitting on the bumps, I'm assuming.
he doesn't have any feeling in his tailbone anymore. It doesn't matter.
Look,
Yeah,
he looked,
right.
he looked wonderful from the top of the podium.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
He couldn't stand all the way up, but he was holding the
No.
trophy high.
Oh, Gary.
So let's talk about. So we've talked about the Ultra 4 cars and like what that, how that has grown. At what point did you say this needs to be bigger and we need to include the motos and the side by sides and then now eventually the trophy chucks and the everyman challenge and the legacy? Like what was the evolution of that concept of taking a race day and turning it into a 2 week event?
Everything all happened independent. Like Jimmy Lewis, me and him talked for about a year before we did motos. Now I'm working with Justin Lineweber, who was working with Jimmy back then, but Justin's a local out there and he just lives it. He knows every single rock and he knows more rocks in Johnson Valley than I do. So, it really, I mean, it seemed like we had do you remember when we had lawnmowers?
No, I did not see that.
We had King of the Trimmers for 1 year. You could thank Will Jones for that. We had King of the Trimmers. We had I don't even know. We've had a lot of weird stuff, but it's been more just because someone said, "Hey, let's do it," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, let's do that," and let's just try it, and we've tried pretty much everything.
But which I love the let's see what happens. But going back to we're building the plane as we're flying it, and you've got a drill gun out there trying to screw some sheet metal together, and someone says, "Hey, we're going to add an extra wing," and you're like, "Cool, let's go!" Yeah. and you just keep building. Was it just coffee, adrenaline, and passion for 2 decades to keep you going?
No, and this won't come surprise to anybody. It was I had the worst chip on my shoulder. Ooh. Like on the planet, like I just had to keep going. Like, and it was more just like out of terrifying of failing. I mean, I was terrified to fail. And quite honestly, I mean, Lujan and I got divorced 10 years ago, but she's still my CFO. She was my wife when we started. She's the one that looked at me in the eye and was like, "Yeah, let's not pay our mortgage this month because there's a race to go to and you can go to the race." It's like, and we've been there. Like there's been many rough times and it was really purely just from we can't fail. We have to just try harder. And
with that,
my shoulder, that chip on the shoulder eats at you for like it's not healthy. Yeah, it definitely manifested in some nasty ways. Like, I mean, I was tired. It was exhausting. But I was unable to quit.
Yeah.
and now looking back on it now, it's certainly just because of the people around us. I mean, both the racers who demanded it, expected, and deserve it, right? And those are 3 different things. Yeah. But they're all true. Mm-hmm. And so if the racers are putting that much effort into it, and then the volunteers put that much effort into it, and the sponsors really care, right? Like we haven't turned really any of this into like a super money making thing. It's just been everybody that comes really cares.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And sorry to cut you off, but not only cares, but I will tell you that for a lot of us, when we drive off the lake bed at the end of the weekend, we are already planning the next trip to the lake bed next year. I mean, it's for our group, we do a trip out there every year, and it's anywhere from 10 to 30 people joining us on our trip to do this event. And it's just to be there, just to be part of it. And everything from vendors and manufacturers and racers and volunteers and spectators, this event has become the Christmas. It's become the thing. It's become like one of my favorite trips of every year is being able to go out to Johnson Valley and just witness the amazing well, we do joke around that like we call Hammertown what was
Thunderdome.
Thunderdome. We call it Hammertown Thunderdome, and I always joke around and say that Hammertown scares me because I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. And the Wheeling Wine and Whiskey guys and old Kevin Jones and those guys are always trying to get us to camp with them in Hammertown, and I tell them that I can't go there. My mom won't let me.
The Hammertown Heights.
You're scared. You're scared to go into Hammertown, but you're not scared to sleep in Narnia? Because that's the defense
No,
Narnia.
no,
Narnia
he is. He's
nuts,
scared.
man.
I am not scared of. I am not scared of Hammertown.
It's not being scared
of Hammertown.
I'm so just last year. I was in bed like at 8 o'clock. I was in bed, and I wake up in the morning, and my hungover brother is like, "Dude, I just spent an hour hanging out with Dave Cole at the campfire. He's gonna come on the show." And I went, "Oh shit! What did you say, dude?" Oh shit! He's never gonna come on this show. Oh my god! But I know what my brother's like when he's been in the desert for a night, and one of two things was going to happen. He was going to your house for dinner because you're now best friends, or you will never talk to us ever again.
What happens on the lake bed stays on the lake bed.
But I mean it's interesting you say that it hasn't created this big money making thing, and I think a lot of people would be, I don't want to say surprised, but like the and I'm sure that it's a
lot of money. Oh,
yes,
it's a lot. There's a lot of money moving.
A lot of money moving, right?
A lot of money moving. Yes,
because you look at the names, because of involved, you look at the quantity of people. I know that a lot of that money goes back to the to BLM and to clean up and all of those things, which we haven't even talked about. But I just think that the event itself, above and beyond what it means to the racers, what it means to the spectators is just as important as what the racers demand and expect and deserve. And I think that every year, so I've been going, I'd say 2015, 2016 every year. I think I didn't go 2020. No. What year did we go, Case? 2021 I didn't go. But
you didn't go. I went. You didn't.
Yeah. But
nobody went.
But you can watch the evolution of Hammertown and the security and the how we're going to route this and what we're going to do, and I have to imagine that is a daunting task. And how do you guys accomplish that to make it what the drivers demand, expect, and deserve, and what the spectators have come to love?
We don't do it by ourselves. Check it out. You guys you have 30 guys there, right? In your camp.
Yeah.
If something got wonky next to your camp, would you let it get wonky, or would you walk over and say, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah, every one of us would walk over and say, "What's going on?"
So would most of the other people there.
Yeah.
Most of the other people there will as well. Not to be nosy, not to be confrontational, not to be a fight, but if something got weird, it'll get solved pretty quickly. And because the people, there's no way we could possibly do this if it wasn't for the people that are there doing it. That's the only reason why. I mean, I still remember, like, around that 2016-17 timeframe, I used to walk out into the middle of Chocolate Thunder before the leaders got there, and we could have a conversation with like 10,000 people. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd sit in the middle of Chocolate Thunder and talk.
Yeah.
And you could listen to people in the crowd talk back, and we would have a conversation. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. But what really came out of that is, once that connection was made, then no one wanted to be the guy that was messing it up. Yeah. We all wanted to look after each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We all wanted to live. We want the Hammers to still be around, and it became much more of a group effort and a culture than it became people leading anything or doing anything. I mean, that's it. It's the culture. It's absolutely. If I knew how to do it, I would do it more often and better at it. It's a phenomenon that it's the people. It truly is the people.
And that's interesting that you talk about the phenomenon, because I wonder if this event was created in a different state at a different time in a different sport, like if it could be what it is today. And the we talked earlier about the community of off-roaders and the mentality of the camaraderie in that community, and then you throw an awesome fun race in front of them, and then that starts to grow from that. Would any other community in any other location be able to pull this off the way that nobody has the answer to that, right? But I do
Yeah,
wonder, how that would play out some other time and some other place.
I think that there are some very unique things about our culture. I mean, how many, pick whatever group of people, crocheters or Rocket Club members or whatever, right? I mean, the ethos of cleaning up trash is like the thing that's just like stomped into your
Yeah,
forehead
yeah, yeah,
as a wheeler, right? Because it's our land. We're going to protect it. We're going to keep it open, right? If that wasn't the mantra of everyone coming there and the forethought of everyone there to begin with, there's no way we'd be able to keep it.
yeah,
There would be fights. There would be, shit would get trashed, or there would just be too much trash, and it'd just
Yeah.
be more than, like you say. I don't understand how 50 people can do that, because
Yeah.
50 people don't. It's
Yeah.
50,000 people doing it. The minute those 50,000 people decide to treat Johnson Valley the same way they treat Times Square,
yeah,
then we're in trouble.
yeah.
And so, and quite honestly, I'd probably stop doing it. I mean, it's fun for me because of this, right? I mean, it's incredible for me, actually. It's the most amazing thing in the world to meet the people and know the people that I've met from being on the lake bed, and to know how much they care and to be there for that. And that's why it's awesome. And when that stops, then it'll all stop. And I don't know, hopefully that just never stops. Hopefully we just keep on going.
I'm ready to go to the lake bed right now.
You should. That's the greatest thing. That last year, I mean, my life's changed a bit in a year, and the biggest thing is I'm at the ranch a lot more, at the lake bed a lot more.
Yeah. So
And
so you guys live in Jersey, but you have the ranch in Johnson Valley.
yeah, I still live there. I mean, I'm there probably 8 months there, 4 months here.
Okay.
Is realistic. I flew in yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I was there all weekend. Yeah.
How often do you get the chance to get dirt on tires and go have some fun? That's not race related.
Almost every day.
Oh,
I can get to the top of Fisher Mountain in 17 minutes from my house.
I can't get to 7-Eleven from my house in 17 minutes.
You always brag about getting to work in 8 minutes.
You know what? What I did yesterday, 2 days ago, for the first time, I drove a 4-seat Can-Am up back door.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Stock.
Okay, so we've made so I remember in 2000, you said the Razor came out in 07. I think 2008, 2009, we were at Glamis, and our buddies bought the first Kawasaki Teryx off the line. Like their nephew worked at a Kawasaki dealership, and that came out. And I got in it like, oh yeah, and I got in and went, this is a piece of shit golf cart with dirt tires on it, and I hated it. It was so, and they spent thousands of dollars trying to soup it up and make it keep up with any other vehicle out there, and it still didn't keep up. Flash to 2020, 2023, you can buy a Ultra 4 ready.
Yeah, now we're talking about people not having enough experience to
more horsepower than
something
brains.
Above their means, like really above their skill level, and endangering themselves.
Dave, this is Matt. Matt, this is Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Matt decided to show up. So my question is, though, it's like
work.
Yeah, work. Okay. My question is, like, as you've watched that evolution happen, what has been your thoughts about it coming from like old school rock crawler guy to now side by side? What's happening? Like, what's your thought?
I think probably the only detrimental thought I have, or the only concern I ever have, is just more when there's no barrier to entry. Like there's the off road, the saying, good roads bring bad people, bad roads bring good people.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to meet many really poor people halfway through Doozy or halfway through the Rubicon or the top of a trail at the Hammers, because the barrier to letting, for people that don't usually do the things the right way, you don't make it that far.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah.
And so UTVs have kind of opened more doors in a lot more areas to access. But and for a while I felt bummed, like, oh, this is going to be harder and this and that. But it's actually an amazing opportunity for us, because if we don't, I mean, the fact that we can be talking right now to the state of California about making permanent off-road tracks across the state of California, that's not where we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we're having those conversations because their constituents, even if they aren't the people that we might have thought we were, that think we're their constituents, are actually listening.
Yeah.
And because there's people doing it, and that's rad. So
it's very rad. And you brought up the same point that Matt has said 1,000 times: is the side by side market has made the barrier of entry so low that anybody with a credit score can now, if you have a credit score and a truck, you can now go out there.
What else do I say? You also, you may not necessarily have that code of conduct. That's
the part I'm getting to, is that lower barrier of entry.
If you grew up camping and building stuff with your family or your dad or whoever, you understand, like, hey, tread lightly, pick up, make the place better than you left it. Just that kind of mentality. You also had some skills, you learned how to drive and stuff like that. So I just speak from experience. My sister-in-law had an incident in a super side-by-side, I don't know, turbocharged, just something like, what do you guys have? Like, how did you, do you think that's smart? And, she ended up rolling it and maiming my nephew, and so now that's like pretty glaring, like, she got no training or anything like that. She just went out there, and it gives you that false sense of security.
Yeah.
Look at how capable it's. I'm doing 70 miles an hour,
Yeah. But I think that as that group of people, and I'm not saying all side-by-siders are not responsible, but
no,
as more people get into it, it now becomes our responsibility as the old school people to help educate them on some of those things. And I think events like King of the Hammers that includes side-by-sides has the opportunity to do that, because now you're exposing these people that have this cool side-by-side. They go, hey, I can go see side-by-sides race. Let's go check that out. And while they're out there, they're going to be exposed to that community that we've talked about that says, hey, man, you can't throw your trash there. You need to pick that up. Hey, man, you better watch out for those kids because they're driving around on their motorcycles, go around the other way. Like, there's a community that, if done correctly, we can foster that growth and education through the event and through trail runs and those kinds of things. And I know organizations like Tread Lightly, Corva, ORBA, they're all working towards that type of educational program to help those people that are new to the sport with their $90,000 side-by-side figure it out.
That makes sense.
So as the event has grown and you guys were doing all of the Hammerking stuff and King of the Hammers and Ultra 4, and last year you guys made the decision to separate the two, and so Ultra 4 is now being run by somebody else and you're focusing on the Hammerking stuff. How has that changed your approach to the event and Hammerking in general? Like, has that opened the door for more creative ideas and more time to focus on different things? Tell me a little bit about that.
Made a new spectator area yesterday. because we could, because we have time. I mean, I was in a Hampton Inn 20 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's 20 weeks a year I'm at the Hammers. Yeah. So the stuff that used to be like, I mean, we wouldn't even start thinking about trying to get ready for the Hammers until November, December. And now I've got next year's course done. I mean, it's ready. So we've never been in that situation, which means now we can start doing TV. We can start getting our coverage stuff earlier. We can start working on other things that are just that much more dialed in.
And does that bring with it, I feel like you're the kind of guy that's like, oh, you know what we could do? Oh, you know what we could do? What if we did? And so while you're laying in bed at night, you're not exhausted from all your travels. How many of those things are running through your head that you're writing down on a piece of paper someplace so that you can talk to someone and go, I think it's a great idea if we get tractors out there this year?
Yeah, I don't usually write it down, but yeah, that's pretty much nonstop. Yeah. That's and the amount of creativity with the team that we have now. Our team is the people that are doing the work now. You've been around the industry a little bit. You know who Brent Gegabro is? Remember him from Four Parts?
I know the name. Yeah.
He's our chief operating officer now.
Nice.
That guy is like the OG raddest of like all the industry. He's been doing the things for so long now. Now there's talent, and we're starting to figure it out and learn the things. So
and
it's been fun.
I gotta believe that at this point in the game, you guys have the ability to just make the call. I mean, is that a misconception on my part? Where like, if you guys have an idea and you go, oh, I want to try to partner with so and so and do this, can you just go and call and say, hey, this is Dave. This is what I'm thinking.
Sometimes I say, hey, this is Dave, and they click. But no, I mean, for the most part, people like trying stuff. Yeah, and I'm fortunate that the people around it, the people that are doing the work, they're down for the challenge, and the racers trust that we go out and do the best we can. But yeah, we make something up, we just go try it. It's been a lot of fun that way.
What has been the one thing that
for example, Ferris wheel, that's this year.
Okay, I'm excited about Ferris wheels. I like that. What has been the one thing that you're like, yeah, we're gonna try this, and at the end of it, you go, never again will I ever let someone convince me to do this?
Oh, you know what? We were raced 2 different races at the same time. That was fundamentally stupid. Yeah, there's been several things that I've tried that we don't do anymore. They're one and dones. But
do people have to remind you when you get all excited about doing something? Does someone have to say, Dave, remember that time we tried to do 2 races at once?
Yeah, that's usually when I'm talking to my friends at the BLM, because I'll like turn to them in the middle of the thing and be like, I'm never doing this again. And then next year I trot it back out in the Osplay, and they're like, hey, remember when you said you weren't doing the shootout again? And I'm like, yeah. How come it's still on the list? So actually the shootouts, I can't believe it's got so much, people are so weirded out about it. I think it's misunderstood what I'm attempting to do around the shootout, which actually is a perfect thing when you're talking about new things.
Yeah.
I believe, especially, it actually touches on all the things you've talked about tonight. I need to find 4 different groups of people that want to run the 4 trails, the 4 spectator areas at night. And I will give you the materials you need, like stage, music, everything you need, but it's your area. Run it, manage it, keep it safe, keep the culture the way it's always been informally done, right? And now it's just a little too much. And I mean, we're getting sued by people that are like, I didn't realize there was a race happening here.
Yeah. I can't cross right here. Yeah.
Standing here, man, in my own business, and this just magically happened to me. I don't know how this happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And so we need to, and those things happen and they go away. But the evening shenanigans, I think, are important to the event. Like, that's important. But it's also important that we do those parts right too.
Yeah.
So it's totally cool to be wheeling like out of your mind up Chocolate Thunder and doing crazy stuff. You just don't need to be doing it like with your seatbelts off or with
your kid on your shoulders as you're standing 4 feet away from where trucks are.
Yeah, it's just a tiny bit of commonsensical stuff, but more what I'm hoping to do is, if I could, like, we got a group in Oregon. It's the first group to step up. They want turkey claw, and they're going to run it. They're going to do, parties and music, and they're going to organize the trail runs, and people are going to be able to go wheeling all the time, but you're going to be able to do it in a conscientious, in a way that we're going to be able to keep doing it all the time, as opposed to, like, for the last 3 years, I've just been fighting the fight of how can we stay open? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And
it'll be up to them to sort of govern what happens during the nighttime shenanigans, essentially.
At least to have an adult in the room.
Yeah.
Like right now, there's only been, I can honestly say there's only been once or twice when I woke up in the morning and like you tell me that happened last night.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that happened at 3:00 in the morning. Okay. Yeah. And we're dealing with it. Reality is all that stuff's over by 11:00.
Yeah.
King of the Hammers at midnight on the last night on Saturday night's incredibly quiet.
Because everybody's done. Everybody's exhausted at that point.
So it kind of sounds like, if you had, you could create your own culture slash chaperone slash something that you would want to participate in. You know, oh, they did again, like you said. There's a bunch of runs that they do, and there's an itinerary maybe, and so it's not just chaos. Though everybody likes a little chaos, it's kind of an organized chaos, exactly with a chaperone or somebody that sets some guidelines and rules to follow,
and we can
also make it fun.
Yeah, we can talk
Fun.
offline. I can think of 3 or 4 groups that could band together at one location and maybe do.
I still
podcasts.
Talk about that hot dog truck. Like
yes,
hot dogs
was
away.
the hot dogs at Backdoor. Yeah,
brilliant.
Okay, can we? Who named this stuff? Because I will tell you, I believe it was a group of 12-year-old junior high school kids going, we're going to try to get 200,000 people to say the words backdoor and
we're finally
chocolate
getting
thunder.
the answers we deserve.
And I swear to God, we love it.
Yeah. I met a guy named Turkey Claw in Cancun one time. So I swear to God, he had like a tattoo of his claw on his arm. Is he involved?
We get to say backdoor and chocolate thunder all year long. That's the best gift.
Next year's Dirty Sanchez.
Exactly. That was gonna be my point. Where's Dirty Sanchez?
If it was like Trail 1 and Trail 2,
no one would care.
show up.
But hey, meet me at Upper Decker, and that's
100%.
Someone break out. So if we're gonna do
the rules of Hammer are really simple. If you run the trail first, you get to name the trail.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, I want to name one Upper Decker, so I got to do something.
if we're gonna take over one of those areas, we're pulling out the Urban Dictionary, and it's gonna be called the Upper Decker at Chocolate Thunder.
Nice.
Go to the Upper Decker area at Chocolate Thunder for nighttime shenanigans. Make sure you bring hand sanitizer. That's gonna be the motto of our. No?
Oh, no, I was going to go even darker than that. I had to catch myself.
I'm sure if I was watching the chat room, there'd be plenty of suggestions about what we could name it, because our listeners are up to speed on Urban Dictionary and junior high school locker room talk. That's who we can cater to.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Hammer King, as you're now shifting and honing in on the event and some of the other stuff, what other kind of content are you looking for on the horizon with Hammerking?
I honestly believe our opportunity is not just with Hammerking, but with Offer in general, is to, because the nature of our sport, for the most part, whether you're rally racing or short course racing or desert racing or Ultra 4 racing, you are the best camera location as well, in almost all those spots. So the current climate, or the current situation we're in right now, where basically we take our content, we put it up for the world to consume, and then we try to scavenge as much value out of that's still ours, right? Which is almost non-existent, right? I've been using Lauren Healy was talking last year about him jumping off the rocks in qualifying, and that clip generated probably about $150,000 of value immediately.
Billions of views, yes.
Because it was badass.
but we didn't have we leaked out almost all that revenue because there's 78,000 different versions, right? There's 5 different versions of the exact same footage that might have been shot by us, but are now just free domain. Like, everything's just out there, right? I believe the opportunity we have right now, especially because we, the drivers, the teams, the production group, has to take so much effort to get the content in the first place. We shouldn't give it away. And those drivers should be that. My goal right now is for Lauren to have that $150,000 before he gets back to the pits.
Yeah.
I want the drivers to be able to get paid for doing the things they do immediately and have the royalties going with it forever, because that clip shouldn't be worth any less 10 years from now than it is right now. He still did it, right? I mean, Jack Nicholson's movies aren't worth less now.
Yeah.
Still gets his royalties. So why do we? It's It's somebody out doing the things, and we have a unique opportunity because it's so hard to get our footage.
Mm-hmm.
If we stop giving it away for free and and more importantly start being able to credit who actually did the things to make it happen, whether it's the promoter for having a race or the athlete for doing something cool or the cameraman for making the shot, all that's information we know. We know when that I can tell you who the cameraman was when Lauren jumped over those rocks.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, know who was in the car. We know who his partners were. We know all the people in play. So if we know that at every turn and all that's just data, let's start managing our data better, and let's find a way to keep the value of our content.
I don't think that's unique to what you're doing. So there's a I was watching a documentary about music, and they were talking about how, you know, back in the day, you had a concert and people bought concert tickets, and then you sold a record and people bought the record, and that's how you made money. Once streaming came along, it was like nobody knew what to do with that anymore, and everybody's still to this day trying to figure out how to credit those artists and capture that revenue that's rightfully theirs from their creation. And I think that there's that balance between getting content out, like you talked about, get it out to as many people as possible so that they can see it, but also attribute it to the people that are creating it and doing it. And
I think you can do both.
Yeah.
I think you can still completely saturate the market and get the content out and not lose the authenticity of where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can, I think we can get there.
Yeah.
I think our opportunity is because it's so hard to get the content in the first place. We're the ones that have it.
Yes.
So let's just not give it up.
And I think
when I say that, I still want to give it away. This isn't like a hoarding thing. It's just that clip, you know, Michael Jordan slamming from the foul line, right? That's $1 billion clip. $1 billion clip. Mm-hmm. Someone owns that, and every time that one clip gets shot, somebody's still getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
probably not Michael Jordan. I don't.
Probably not Michael Jordan. And that's the part I want to change. I want Lauren to get his when Lauren's great grandkids are watching him jump off another cliff in Moab. I want it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that you talked about early on, you talked about calling it Hammerking Productions, and you didn't know what a production was because you'd never done it before. But I think with Hammerking Productions and the proliferation of streaming services, everything from Netflix to YouTube to Tubi and Pluto, there's all these free advertising supported channels and stuff now. I think that there's a way to capture that. And I'm not claiming to know the answer, but I think about for years there was after the King of the Hammers race, you could get the DVD with the narration and the stories and all that stuff.
Yep.
And I consumed the shit out of those. Like, you know what I mean? I would watch them 3-4 times. I'd have them running here in the studio in the background while I was working. Like, there's got to be a way, because like we talked earlier, the very beginning of this was the story behind the race is just as intriguing to me as the race itself. And I think what you guys did with the Road to the Hammers and some of those productions where you're telling those stories, there's a way to do that to make it accessible to everyone, yet still capture the value that exists in it.
I think it's really going to come down to, it's almost like if you view data, back to the GE days, right? You have single source of truth for your data. You don't want one data repository. That's the one place I go to find out my facts, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. If you treat content as data, which is all it is, then you can still have the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And if you can tag that, and you know that no matter where, you just leave your even if at this point, if all we're doing is putting a tracer on it, and we just know where it went.
Yeah.
We're still going to get ripped off, but at least now we know it got seen by 16 trillion people instead of 30.
And I think that even if the only thing you were able to do was quantify the views, that mm-hmm. then provides the leverage to have the next conversation with the next sponsor. And instead of Optima batteries over the rock that's jumping over, here's the bidding war. The next time somebody jumps over this thing, it could be up to 48 billion views. Do you want your banner at the start line or the finish line, right? And there's value in that. So taking those data points, whether it be the propagation of the data out to how many different sources, right? Because you can tag that as well. I know this is now sitting on 200,000 different websites, and
Yep.
then also how many clicks or how many link backs to be able to use that data for advertising and for sponsorships and for all those other things.
100%.
I think we lost Matt. I think we started talking about propagation and data.
As soon as you said propagation, I was like, didn't we get rid of that in the 30s? Like prohibition? I don't know, man. You're confusing me. You start using big words.
Sorry. I get spreadsheet nerd on these guys, and they don't like it. I'm a data nerd.
Understand.
And I'm against prohibition.
And yes, you're against prohibition. So when are you coming back to the valley? When are you coming back to the dirt?
I'll be back on Monday.
Okay.
We have the Ormhoff board induction stuff. There's an induction ceremony for some new people going into the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And I'll be in Vegas for that this weekend. And then I'll be home for a while.
Okay. What is your schedule for the next couple months? Is your schedule starting to ramp up a little bit? I mean, I know that you said you've already started. You've got the course and all this stuff.
You're already stalking him on LinkedIn. You got to know what his schedule
How do
is.
you know? You weren't even here.
I was listening.
I'm a LinkedIn stalker. Hey, he accepted the connection. That's his fault. He shouldn't have done that.
Sorry, Dave, that is your fault.
It's 100% your fault.
Shouldn't have done that.
What's this red button do right here?
You have been blocked.
He's gonna get off this call, reach out to the people that got this schedule, and went, "You son of a bitch."
I signed up for this. You already ratted me out. I signed up for this at the campfire, evidently.
Yeah,
you did.
This
Evidently.
you don't at the campfire.
You don't remember that conversation because there's a lot of other things you committed to as well.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that letting me borrow your car was one of
I'm
them on
pretty
the
sure I wrote it down. Let me
trail.
find my notes.
We'll have to. I had to find my notes.
Casey's never taken notes in his life. He's taking notes at a campfire.
Even when sober, Casey doesn't take notes. The idea that he's 14 Jack and Cokes in at the campfire. Hammers
No,
is like,
that bartender they had there was making some really strong old fashions.
Yeah, blame the bartender.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
I don't know that it's. I think you can handle that. You've done it before. So thinking about the what is the one thing for this year's event that's going to be a little bit different? You alluded to it, but a little bit different, and it has you really excited.
The cultural stuff at the trails, and I do want to get. I'm trying desperately to get a Ferris wheel, but only because I've been fortunate to been above it. It is as mind blowing as King of the Hammers is at 8 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable at 40 feet off the ground, at 80 feet off the ground. Just to get the scope of what you're looking at, it is bonkers.
Casey is a fabricator. I have every bit of confidence
stop
that he could weld together a Ferris wheel. Like
For
it
bugs.
may be a.
I appreciate the credit, but
So
that may be above my pay grade.
if you're good at TIG, what I've done is I got a full metric set of erector set. And what I was going to do was just TIG weld the erector set together and make a.
Hey, you
Just
can
go out and buy 4 million erector sets.
you can build anything with
And then we
Unistrut,
will-
man. I have built
Yeah.
some serious stuff with Unistrut.
It'll have the big string, the string thing.
Yeah.
You just have to have one person at the Ferris wheel riding a bike to keep it going the whole time. That's how you keep it going.
I really hope that you pull off the Ferris wheel because that will just be
That's what it's
like
missing. Like
icing on the cake. That like,
when I
can you
think about
imagine?
From Chocolate Thunder
Pulling up
looking
to
down
breakfast.
into the lake bed, that's what's missing. It's like a Ferris wheel, like all
Look.
lit up. Like,
Can you
that would
imagine
be
coming down the
amazing.
247 and you're about to turn onto Boone Road? You're coming down Boone Road and you're like,
There's
is that a fucking Ferris wheel?
No, look.
Exactly.
I bet if you reached out to Barnum and Bailey and said, "Hey, we have 200,000 people coming out to the desert for 2 weeks. How'd you like to set up a tent?" I guarantee
I
that.
thought about a circus. I thought of, like the circus that's in the mall parking lot at Christmas time.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's
Yes.
exactly
Like
what
the-
I'm talking about.
Oh, that's a different thing than the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel is going to be its own standalone thing, but a circus would be rad.
Yeah,
That would
Like
be
just
bad.
to be able to go and see us, like just get tickets.
A
There's
kid's petting
800
zoo.
tickets every night, and you
Yeah.
get to go watch a rad circus.
100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have
think that-
3 clowns that we can put on a show. I promise. Give us a little Volkswagen. We'll all fit in there and do stupid stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's called Class 11 racing, gentlemen. Look it up.
Oh, that looks so fun.
Yes, that looks.
fun as
I
hell.
keep saying, I'm like, okay, we're just gonna buy a bug. We're just gonna buy a bug. We can't afford an ultra far car. We're just gonna buy a bug.
That's way cheaper than the Everyman.
Oh, and I will say that in your conversation, you may not remember this, but in your conversation with my brother around the campfire, my brother
There we go.
my
Here
brother
we go.
explained to you that we want to build a vehicle for Everyman Challenge, and we were arguing between his Nissan Frontier and my Ford Ranger, and you said that the Ford Ranger was a better truck for that event, and we should build the Ranger, not the Nissan.
I think if I remember correctly, I just wanted you guys to leave, and I figured that was the best way to fix it.
What gets you off my back? Just
Yeah.
Ford.
That is the most real, honest answer I think I've ever heard a guest say. It's like, I just didn't want to talk to this jackass anymore. What was going to make him go away?
I built a Ranger over a Nissan hardbody, sure.
Yeah.
Is it old school?
No,
Is it
no,
is it a 90s Ranger?
No,
is
I've
it a
got
90s Ranger?
we're talking about a 2019 Ranger and a 2014 Nissan Frontier.
So you have a Ford Bronco then?
Yeah. It's
the
the
Ranger chassis was a Bronco, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically the same. I love
That's
the
what you
truck.
had explained to me. You said the parts already exist for the Ranger
Yeah.
that you need to run this race.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, okay, fine.
I'm not letting you build it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what's next, man? Other than celebrating a recent marriage and getting a little bit of free time with some of the changes and getting ready to build up this event, what's on the horizon for Dave Cole? What do you see like long term?
Wow.
The answer could be, I'm going to do this forever.
I'm trying to build a general store at the Hammers. I want you to be able to not have to drive 60 miles to get a UTV belt. I want you to not have to drive 20 miles to get ice and beer and U-joints. So, I can tell you that this past year was the first time that the county did an economic impact statement, and we had $34 million of direct revenue in a week.
Yeah, I read. I don't know what I was doing, but I read a report that talked about the impact that Hammers has on Yucca Valley, Johnson Valley, the surrounding area, and the influx of revenue that comes into that whole.
$3 million in direct taxation during that week.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So I can't imagine they don't like you.
Small towns have been created for smaller events, or that certainly seems feasible.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. I'm excited to see what happens this year when it's not on the Super Bowl. And we've been on the top of the Super Bowl every year. I haven't seen a Super Bowl that wasn't on the lake bed in 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. So I hear it's a thing. I hear people watch those games. So
people watch commercials. The commercials are
not unless my team's in it, and they haven't been in it, so you haven't missed much.
I understand. I'm an Eagles fan. I understand a lot.
I'm sorry, dude.
See, that goes back to his New Jersey roots.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
Mike Trout being from New Jersy and also
Millville.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he really?
He's also Philadelphia.
That's right.
My wife's uncle drives him in his limo to the airport back and forth. Mike Trout's dad owns a limo service in Millville, and my wife's uncle drives for him.
No kidding.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is super cool. I think a general store that
is a huge missing.
Yes, I would think that there's enough
UTV rentals on the lake bed.
Yes,
and another thing that this I have right now. If you wanted to drive John Reynolds' Bronco, you can come to the ranch and drive the Bronco. You can rent John Reynolds' Bronco. You can rent a Jimmy's car. You can rent a Trail Bomber.
Yeah,
and you can just go rock crawling.
Yeah.
That's the way. Share my coach.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a venture with that guy, with Joe Hill, to share my crawler, and you're going to be able to come to the Hammers and just run a rock crawler, just go wheel it.
That's awesome. And I think there's enough revenue in that 2-week period to probably sustain life for a year. But there's.
Dude, I was going to Johnson Valley. That's where I learned to ride my dirt
Johnson
bike.
Valley has activity at all times.
Well, you're right. Yeah,
there were not people there.
300 people on the lake bed yesterday.
Yeah.
When I left the lake bed, when I went on Sunday night, there was 300 people still wheeling on the lake bed.
There's never not people there, whether it be.
It was 79 degrees on Sunday.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy.
It was
It's
amazing.
cooling down. It's just about desert season here pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, today was the first day I walked out of work and I was like, huh, feels pretty good. Like,
I turned my heater on this morning.
what?
It's chilly. We got in like the 30s last night.
What?
But again, there does seem to.
I'll send you a sweatshirt.
I think there's a real need for like that base infrastructure. Like again, a general store. Then the next thing, a gas station pops up on the other
Do you
side.
want
of
him to
Boone
put in
Road.
do you want him to put in an EV charger for your Tesla?
I am putting an EV charger.
Oh no!
Damn,
but
I
no.
was trying to make fun of him.
Hey, check this out though. If you've got an entire culture that gets put on the ropes,
Yeah.
if literally if the only way you can drive to go off-roading is in your EV toy with your EV truck, and you can't charge your toy and you can't charge your truck when you get there, you're going to stop off-roading.
Oh, 100%.
And then we're not going to do it anymore. And then they're going to be like, oh, we don't need this land anymore because off-roading is such a... No, we're going to have charging stations off-road.
But you're also now contributing to the growth of EV 4x, which is great.
It's going to happen no matter what.
100% fine with that.
Yeah, it's going to happen no matter what. No
Run
matter what
you
we
brung,
do. Yes.
You know, we've always said that. Now, I'm not going to run my Tesla through... I don't even think I'd take it down Boone Road. But... You know, if somebody had a Wrangler E model, you know, whatever,
the 4xe or the Rivian, or there's plenty, an F-150 Lightning,
100%.
There's plenty of those vehicles. To your point, if the ability to charge was there, it would absolutely change the mentality about going out for a week. You know, they may go, I'm going to go out for the day, check it out, and go home.
Where else would you go?
Yeah.
if you had an electric 4-wheel drive, where else would you go?
Yeah.
If Johnson Valley had the
charging capabilities,
the amenities there.
We didn't see too many Rivians last year, I don't think, but I bet you we'll see a bunch this year.
Put the Chargers in, and then you'll start seeing.
I can tell you, we charged about 375 of them. We had charging on the lakebed last year for Rivians. Optima did. Optima paid for it, and they charged like 375 times. Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, we interviewed them. Yeah. They had that Rivian.
We interviewed him at SEMA. But I do think the EV world is coming. There's nothing we can do about it. There's a lot of pros and cons to it, and right now the biggest con is the ability to charge in remote locations. And if you give them the ability to do that.
Look, as a new Tesla owner, I find myself like defending, like, well, what about the infrastructure? How are you supposed, you know, like everybody cites like all the negatives. You don't experience those negatives, like. There's that guy that bought the Lightning and he tried to tow from here to there. Why'd he do that? Like, you didn't know?
That just happened too. There was a guy that showed up when one of our rookies towed his Bomber race car to the Hammers in a Rivian and couldn't go home. He spent the night at my house.
Oh no!
Because my charge, because I'm off the grid at the ranch too. So all we could do was charge them off my batteries. So I turned on the generator, and then the generator was only charging like off one. It was like it was charging 6 miles of range per hour.
Per hour, yeah. It's 110 volts.
Well, you should be ready to go by Tuesday.
You know what, Dave? I think he planned that.
I think he'll be home in March.
Yeah, 100%.
I think he just wanted to hang out.
He's like, I'm going to get a free stay at Dave's house
for a couple of days. Well, I'm stuck. You know, he had an F-250 diesel sitting at home. But he didn't want to take that. That guy, genius. Genius right there.
And he's going to write a blog post, My Weekend with Dave.
Exactly.
That's funny.
But again, it is one of those things, you know, as people are still buying electric cars. And once, I'm super stoked to hear that, you know, that he's looking to invest in
I bet you our biggest business isn't even going to be it's not going to be cars. It's going to be bikes. It's going to be UTVs. Yeah. I think electric UTVs and bikes will be here and be far more prevalent before we're towing anything out there in electric cars.
I could agree with that. And those electric bikes and even electric mountain bikes are coming down in price to the point where they're accessible to people. The barrier of entry is that much lower, and I do think that they're going to blow up. It's all going to go that route.
I saw a guy with a rooftop tent in his Tacoma and 2 electric bikes in a regular bike rack. Not like a dirt bike where you had to, you know, shove it in the tail. He had the room, just like one of those tail hitch.
Super 73s?
I don't know the specific bikes. I'm just saying, like, well, you know, you've seen those, like, bike racks, that attach to the tow hitch or whatever. And you just put your regular mount. You could stack mountain bikes on there. He had a couple electric bikes, stacked on. I thought, wow, that's, he's not. I don't know if he's going to get after it like somebody on a dirt bike, but he has his rooftop tent and the means to go wheeling around in his truck and on electric bikes. It seemed like a pretty exciting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think all that's coming, and I love the idea that you're thinking ahead to that. And to Matt's point, if you build it, they will come. If you put the chargers in, it will be it'll remove the reason for them to not be there.
Yep.
And then it also opens up an even larger opportunity for vendors at the show. So now going back to the electric bikes and all of the Optima batteries and all of the things, you've now just opened up a whole wing of participants and sponsors and vendors just by welcoming that community into the event. And then there's going to be the E-Hammer, the king of the E-Hammer, and it's going to be all the electric.
We already have that. We already have an E-Class.
See, there you go.
There it is.
I'm telling you, this is going to be cool. Matt and I used to do construction. We can help you build that general store.
I'm ready to go.
I can't help you build that store.
I'm like 45 minutes from the lake bed, so
I can help manage the building of that
I can
store.
point at younger people to do the work. I'm too old and broken at this point.
That's right.
Well, Dave, I know it's late in Jersey, and man, I got to tell you, I'm very appreciative of you spending your evening with us, and
my honor. Thanks for covering our sport, and thanks for looking after it. I mean, if people aren't doing this kind of stuff, then there isn't going to be racers racing. There isn't going to be people coming to events because they don't hear about it. And the fact that you guys are actually talking about the cool stuff and doing the cool stuff I think it's rad. So
we don't do as much cool stuff as we'd like to because we have to do the job thing.
So if you're a trail chaser, when are you going to come to the Hammers and I'll take you on the new trail that we just cut?
I can be there in 45 minutes.
It'll take me a little longer, but next week's fine.
Okay, we will plan something. We need to do some pre-run stuff anyway, so I will absolutely reach out and
I have a solution. We can do live from any car now, so like without internet. So when you come, we can do a podcast while we're driving down the trail.
Oh my God. See, that is awesome because I always say that the chatter on our radios, on our trips is the best dad jokes ever. Like that we need, that's comedy gold if we could just capture the radio chat.
You just lost him. He was like, hey guys, everything we could have dreamed of happening was happening. Cody.
And then
you had
Cody fucked it up.
I have a tendency to fuck it up. That's what I do. That's my job. But yeah, absolutely. I'll reach out. Well, I would love to take you up on that invite and come play. And I'll let you know what that looks like. And we'll try to coordinate schedules because that would be very cool. And
let's show you around the Hammers.
I'd love it. And I'll have some follow-up conversation with you maybe later in the week about some of that other stuff with the locations you want to man. I think I've got an idea for that. And we will continue. We'll continue talking about the event and Hammer King and everything you're doing because we absolutely love all of it. And we appreciate what you've done, not only for the sport and the event, but for yuckleheads like us to have something to talk about week over week, year over year, and about the events and those kinds of things. So I'm very, very appreciative to what you've built and for you to spend some time with us. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. I really do. Have a great night, and we'll see you in the desert, and we'll see you at the Hammer.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks,
Talk
Dave.
to you soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Here's y'all.
Did he hang up? He hung up. Okay.
He hung up.
Well,
it's 11 o'clock in.
I was gonna say, yeah. It's late. I could have kept going, and then I realized what time it was. That was really cool.
Freaking Dave Cole.
Look, I just have to say, after Hammers last year, when Casey woke me up and said, dude, I just talked to Dave Cole, I thought for sure we would never hear from that guy again. Like 100%. And Casey,
did we hear from him the first time?
No, I'm just saying.
I didn't wake
you
up.
again.
You were awake.
Was I? Oh, I was awake?
I think you got out to pee or something like that.
That's about right.
I think I remember I was sitting at your tent. Like, he's got to get up soon.
throwing rocks at the side of the
Throwing
tent.
rocks?
Hey, psst, are you awake?
Yeah.
So I am really excited about Hammers this year. It's going to be fun. We've got some money at stake for Hammers this year. Whether or not Matt's truck's going to be running, that's going to be something we'll have to see.
Did you say money and stakes?
Money and stakes.
It's two of my favorite things.
What if we go for a longer period of time?
There's a lot of work to be missed at that point, and I think for me, it's 100% going to depend on the job. So,
Yeah. I liked you better when you were unemployed.
Me too. I'm
Like, yeah, I got the time.
I'm starting my 4th week in my new job, and my brain hurts every single day. I didn't realize how much I was going to have to learn, and it's taking a lot. But I'm great people. I'm very, very fortunate that it's super cool people, and I'm digging it so far. As we talked about, Jose's not here. Jose had to work, so bummer Jose. And then Matt showed up late. You had a long drive.
Yeah, I had to go to the big office today. I had my review.
How your niece?
They're okay. I mean, I'm used to it now. So I brought some nice padding, and I made sure that
you still have that click in your jaw. Or are you good?
It's on the other side of my jaw now this year.
Have you seen that?
I sent it to you. I've seen
it a bunch of times. Yeah, they hurt my jaw.
Right, exactly. It was like BJ's or whatever. Oh no, I'll take
for the
whatever.
next year. Would you give them
It was
cheese or blowjobs? And everybody was all cheese, and the guys all blowjobs. They hurt my jaw. That's so funny. On the back end of a great interview, we're gonna roll right into 12-year-old humor. But again, we're talking about someone that named Chocolate Thunder and Backdoor
and Dirty
Dirty
Sanchez.
Sanchez.
As soon as you said Dirty Sanchez,
Oh my god, dude! I'm telling you, I want
dude,
the upper decker.
Upper Decker, dude. We're gonna do the upper deck. Come to the upper Decker event.
Sponsored by the Trail Chasers. Welcome to Trail Chaser Corner, highlighting the upper decker.
Upper Decker.
We can bring lights and have a laser show, and oh man,
Then the laser show is me and Matt with our laser pointer.
Yes, doing
exactly.
Star Wars lightsaber fights. I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
Because you have.
Yes, I was.
You've already been to the. You've been to the.
That's what we do.
First one.
Yeah.
Hey Matt, watch out! There's like a beehive over there, and I'm fucking shooting lasers at it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
They want to party. Let's party.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
So we have to offline. We have to have a conversation about our schedule and when to get out to the desert and take Dave up on his lake bed invitation.
Did you guys ask Dave if he knew any transmission specialists?
No. Yeah, he probably does know transmission specialists, but they're not going to put a fucking OEM transmission in a 2018 Pro 4X.
Frontier has a 4L80 in it.
You want?
Yeah, I was just saying. Well, maybe they just take the chassis off of my truck and just put the cab on something else. You know, that's fine.
He's gonna be like,
I don't have to drive. I'm not driving it every day anymore.
He's gonna be like, you can have one of these transmissions. They're all more expensive than your car. They're all worth more than your car.
Thanks, Dave Cole. I could also sell it and just, whatever. Fund something.
I did. Did either of you guys pay attention to the chat room? Because I don't know. There's a lot of kissy faces and stuff in there.
I did a little bit.
I'm not sure what's going on in there, but looks like there's quite a bit of chats. I think that we have some stuff we got to try to get done in the next couple weeks. And Casey, you've got an event coming up this week.
A week from today.
And it's
and then another one 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, and then another one a week after that. So Casey's got 2 events to get ready for, and we got one.
I've had numerous fantasy football drafts.
Yeah.
I just had my draft last night.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Holmes. Just worried about getting dominated, I guess.
Yeah.
That's fine. Monty's gonna kill you guys anyhow.
Yeah, I know she will.
Yeah, that's my sister's like a savant when it comes to fantasy football.
Mhm.
She's like
But that's it.
rain chick. Yeah, just fantasy football. That's it.
Just
Nothing
that's
else.
She's like Kelly Bundy. Like you start implanting other or putting other information in her head. The other stuff, other valuable stuff gets
Yeah.
replaced.
Hey, honey, what's for dinner? Did you know that Aaron Rodgers is thrown for?
That's right. 1997, Brett Favre threw for 3,200 yards.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 blah.
What else? What else is going on with us right now? Has the part for Nicole's truck come in yet?
I think it's due tomorrow.
That was in the chat room.
Oh, that was in the chat room.
Yeah.
That's most of the sad faces.
Yeah. Oh, that's where the sad faces are. Yeah. Nicole's got a sad face. She's driving around her GMC Terrain. I had lunch with her.
It's a PT Cruiser.
Her GMC PT Cruiser.
I got a new addition to Blue Thunder that I'm gonna have to release here soon.
Yeah?
I'm not ready to. Yeah.
No.
You know about it. I talked about it.
Did we?
The thing I got.
Oh yes, we did. Well, I need to get that interview from you to
I'm gonna
air.
put a little bit more thunder
Nicole's
back into Blue Thunder.
Yes, a little bit more lightning and thunder. Nicole's saying that she hates her GMC PT Cruiser. I just want it to be noted that she was living life in a GMC PT Cruiser when I met her. Just living life. Just
I bet we could lift it.
Adventuring. I'm gonna go adventuring, and I went, "That's bullshit. Go get a truck." And she did. And now look. Now we're talking about Nicole's group is going off-roading
exactly.
this weekend.
She wheels. We talk about eventually going wheeling.
In the last year since she got that truck, she's been off-roading more times.
It's been 2 years now. It's got to be 2 years.
Yeah, it has. She's probably been off-roading more than all four of us combined in the last 2 years.
I don't know.
So that makes me happy. What else? Anything? There's I feel like there's some events or something coming up, but I didn't.
Off-Road Expo's coming up.
Yes, Off-Road Expo's coming up in October. Definitely want to be there for that.
SEMA's coming up.
SEMA's coming up. I'm still trying to figure that out.
We need to figure that out, because if that's a time off thing.
For me, it's going to be a time off thing, and again,
I also work, but the sooner I turn in for that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I'm only 4 weeks into my job, so being gone for a week is
It's never stopped you before.
You're right, it hasn't. I've done it before.
What you got to do is you got to go in there and go, look, everybody. This is what I do. I go to SEMA every year, and it's not changing this time. Just see how that goes. Just start throwing.
Yeah. So that you guys know this is what's happening.
Somehow, also, if you could this is how it's going to help me out with my job, SEMA. I'm going to learn a lot of things about distribution of things. I don't know exactly what you're doing in your job. But you got to do that. That's what you got to do. You got to figure that out.
None of those things are relevant to my job.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And then 2 months off of that, you need a week off to go to the Hammer.
Yeah, I know. It's
just work Christmas. Just be like, I'll work Christmas.
It was.
But I gotta have
subsidize your time over the holidays.
It was a little bit different when you work for an off-road company. You're like, I'm going to an off-road event, So, but
people are wearing shoes like at SEMA. Say you're doing some shoe research. Say, hey, look, I'm gonna take a lot of pictures of people in their shoes.
I want to see how our $200 knee-high women's boots do in the desert.
Look, I'm a man of the streets, and I'm gonna do some research. Straight up, I'm going to be at one of the biggest events. People are going to be at. Everybody wears shoes. You have to wear shoes.
Yep.
They throw that in there. Make sure they know that it's.
That's what, Matt. I think you got it. I think that's the route I'm going to go.
Just like that, I came up with that, dude.
Just look at that. Everybody wears shoes. Dumbass. I
don't know about shoes, man. I don't know. I mean, I wear them,
yeah.
but I don't. I'm just trying to be helpful.
There's 100 people in the chat room going, "What is he talking about? Shoes?"
Oh, haven't you?
I don't know. I
explained
don't know if
what
anybody
you're-
knows what I do.
What do you do? I don't think I know what you do. I'm trying to get you to go to SEMA based on shoes.
What do you?
Because
You
you
actually
work for a shoe distributor, like, I don't know, maybe.
you actually carry the TPS reports?
No, I don't actually carry the report.
Mark says I'm the VP of New Boot Goofing.
I like it.
I'm gonna have my business
Did he
cards.
hashtag that, or can I steal it?
I'm changing my business cards tomorrow.
New boot. I like it.
That's our chat room. Well, look, I think we're good for the conversation. I'm super excited that we got the chance to talk to Dave and hear a little bit more of the backstory about him before the Hammers. And I appreciate everybody in the chat room that's been hanging out with us tonight and participating. So you guys make it fun. With that, I think we're good. Casey, anything before we go?
No, I think that's it.
Matt?
No.
Jose?
No.
That was the worst. That was the worst.
I was gonna go. No, senor.
Now
All
that
right,
was
now
the
we're-
worst.
Yes,
that was
I'm gonna have to
worst
cut that out
Jose.
now. We're gonna get canceled. Thank you, Casey.
That
Oh,
sounded more
come
like
on.
Carlos to
Yes,
me.
that was Carlos. That was absolutely Carlos. Well, from Carlos and the rest of us, thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Adios.